Surdu. I'm the author of Combat Patrol World War II. In today's demonstration video, I'm going to show you how to resolve high explosive rounds and grenades using the card-based mechanics of Combat Patrol. Recently, I received an email from somebody who plays the game wanting to confirm that his understanding of these rules from having read the booklet were correct. In fact, they were, but it led me to believe that maybe other people are doubting their interpretation of the rules as well, and so I'm going to show you this little video, and I think it should clear up any questions you might have.
For this demonstration, we've got some British Home Guard here in the wall behind this pub, and we've got some Fallschirmjägers. And the Home Guard, these two folks, when this team activates, these two folks are going to throw grenades, both right here in the center of this group. All right, so for the first, so we place the template where you want the grenade to go. Note that we're lining a flat side sort of along the direction of fire here. That's important for scattering, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So let's do the first shot. Oh, and that's at long range. So I'm going to flip a card over, and he's regular. His accuracy is regular, but I have to move 2 bubbles to the right because I'm at long range, 1, 2, but that still is a bullet hole, indicating that the grenade landed where I expected it to land. Now for each one of the figures in this zone, or in the blast radius, I'm going to flip a card to determine whether or not that figure was wounded or affected by the blast. So the first thing, so I'm going to go in this order, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to flip the first card. Now what I'm looking for is in this area here, there's these high explosive blast icons. There's a large one that's got an L in it, a medium one that's got an M in it, and a small one that has an S in it. Because this is a small blast effects template, I'm looking for the small icon on this. So for this figure, I get a large and a medium, no small, so he's unaffected. I flip the next card, and here I have an double exclamation point, no burst icons. So that means he wasn't wounded, but he was stunned due to the fact that that's what the double exclamation point means. So he's stunned. And now I flip for the third figure, and you can see on this card I have a large, medium, and a small icon. So this figure's been affected somehow. I flip the next card to determine how he was affected. I flip the card here, and it says that that figure is incapacitated. Now I don't care about this number because I was going for each person in turn. Everybody within the burst radius gets a roll against them, if you will. So I don't care about that number, but what I do care about is this says he was incapacitated, and there's no Woods icon here, so he's actually incapacitated. Now this figure here who was stunned, he's the leader, so I'm going to place this green marker here to show that he's been that he has to make a morale check. Alright, now let's resolve the second grenade. So this guy is also throwing to the same spot. It too is 4 inches away. So I flip the card, and so regular move over 2. What I needed was 4 bullet holes, but I only got 1, so that the grenade didn't land there. But I do have to roll for high explosive to determine where the grenade did land. So I flip this card over. Now remember, I was looking for the fourth. I was looking in the 4th position here to see if I got a hit or not. So I flipped this card over, and I'm going to align it with the direction of fire or the direction I was throwing the grenade. And I'm looking for this little bayonet icon here to tell me which direction it scatters. And then I look over the 4th position here because that's the one I was looking for initially to determine whether or not I hit the spot I was aiming. And so this says 2. Probably hard to see on the video, it's a tiny little number, but it says 2, and the bayonet's pointing that way. So I line it with the direction of fire, and I move this over 2 inches, and notice that these 2 figures are within the burst radius. So I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to flip a card for this figure, looking for that small explosion icon. I didn't. I got a large explosion icon and a double exclamation point, so this figure's just stunned because of the double exclamation point. Now I'm going to flip for this guy, and I get a small explosion icon. Excellent. So he's been damaged somehow. I flip the next card to see if he's been wounded or incapacitated. I flip this card over, and it says he's been wounded. However, there's the Woods icon here, which means he's been protected. So he's stunned instead of being wounded, but because he should have been wounded, I also pick up one more morale marker. So you can see how I was able to resolve 2 grenades pretty quickly, even while explaining what I was doing. Okay, so I've set up a new situation to demonstrate some other aspects of firing high explosive. So the Germans who were out here in the woods earlier, right, they've now moved into this courtyard to assault this building. Now if I take the top off this building, and the top floor, what you're going to see is inside the building, I've got 5 home guardsmen, 2 at this window, 1 at this window, and 2 at that doorway. And in their activation, the Germans are going to throw grenades in. So this one, this German is right next to the window at short range. These other 2 Germans are at medium range, about 2 inches, just under 2 inches, so that's at medium range. And what we're going to do is we're going to resolve the grenade throws 1, 2, 3. So let's get started. So we draw the first card. Now this guy's accuracy is regular and he's at short range. So he only needs 2 bullet holes in order to score a hit, which he does. Now at short range, that's it, right? If he gets the hit, it goes inside the window. That's the idea, that I'm hiding under the window or right next to the hatch of the vehicle. And so if I'm at short range, all I do is roll just like normal direct fire. I got a hit. That means the grenade landed inside. Now, inside an enclosed space, like a building or a foxhole, you still use the small high explosive template, but in the enclosed space, you're looking for medium high explosive icons on the card in order to score a hit. So we've got a hit. There are 2 people within the burst radius of this grenade, and so let's flip the first card, and what we get is, again, I'm looking for what? A medium high explosive icon. I get one, right? So there's a medium high explosive icon. So this first guy's been hit somehow. I flip the next card and he is incapacitated. And that's all I do for him. There is no cover modifier anymore because we know that the grenade went inside the window. And we put a morale marker down. So now let's do the effect of the second grenade. So we flip the second grenade over. And I got I didn't get a medium icon. I got a large one, but I also got 2 exclamation points, so the second figure is stunned. So that was the shooting with this guy who's at short range against the guys inside that window. So now let's do a medium grenade throw. Now, there's some other procedures associated with this. If you're not at short range, there's a second card flip to determine whether or not the grenade actually goes inside the enclosed space or inside the window. So we flip the first one over. So at medium range, again, I'm at medium range, and my accuracy is regular. So I go over 1. I needed 3 bullet holes. I got 3 bullet holes. So the grenade goes at the window. Now I have to see, because the window is small and I'm trying to throw a grenade through it, I have to roll to see if the grenade actually goes through the window. Now what I'm doing is I flip a card and I'm looking here where the cover icons are, and because I'm throwing through a window, if there had been a window icon on here, the grenade would have bounced off the windowsill and rolled back at me perhaps, right? But it didn't. In this case, I didn't get a window down here on my second card draw. So it goes inside, and again, in this case, right, there's one guy in the burst radius, so I flip a card over, and I needed a medium high explosive icon. Actually, there's 2 guys in that. This guy and that guy are both within the radius. So anyway, I didn't get a medium high explosive icon, so he's undamaged. I flip the next card over. I get a medium high explosive icon this time. So let's see what I did to him. I wounded that guy. So this person here, the leader, it turns out, is wounded. So I'm going to put a white. I use white rubber bands for wounded, W, wound. He's also stunned, and because he was wounded, the unit picks up another morale marker. So that was the second grenade throw. Now we're going to throw the third grenade through the window, or attempt to. So far this has been pretty effective grenade throwing. I need 3 icons again to get it in at the window. 3 bullet holes. I got all 6. So it definitely went to the window, but now I have to see again. I flip another card to determine whether or not it hits the windowsill. In this case, it did. You can see the little window cover icon, which means trying to get through that window, it bounced off the edge, the sill or whatever, and now I have to roll for scatter to determine where the grenade actually went. Now the rules say you can't scatter into a window, so if I got a scatter direction, that would be sort of in again. Depending on the situation, it might be like up to the down onto the ground, or maybe you would say it goes in the opposite direction and bounces back. The game master is really going to make a call in that regard. But in any event, all right, so it bounced off the windowsill. Let's see where it went. So we flip this card over, and again, remember we're going to align the card along the direction of fire. And it may be hard to see, but the little bayonet is pointing directly to the left. And the third bullet hole, remember way back here I was looking to see if I had a bullet hole in the third position. This says 3 inches. So it's 3 inches directly to the left. So if I was trying to hit here, right, 3 inches, I was trying to get into the window here, so 3 inches is going to take me right here, and it's outside this window. It's going to burst sort of right here. You can imagine that half the burst radius, it's sort of on this line here, and half the burst radius maybe is going into the window. But so you notice that he threw a grenade. It sort of rolled around on the ground and blew up near his own man. So we're going to flip a card to determine if we do any damage. Now this one's outside, not an enclosed space. So I need that small high explosive icon. Oh, I got a small high explosive icon. So let's see what I did to my own man. Oh, I incapacitated him. All right, well that's bad. So so that was bad. Now, but now there are still 2 people just inside that window who are within the burst radius, so we get to see if we actually do damage to the enemy after all. So I flip this card over. It is a small high explosive icon. So this first figure here, all in one activation, it's all simultaneous. So I flip a card here for this figure to see what I did to him, and I got a wound. Now he's already dead, right? But in the same activation, those guys all still count. But because I'm receiving effective fire and he should have been wounded, the unit still gets an additional morale marker. So now let's flip a card for the second guy. Again, I got the small high explosive icon, so let's flip this card over. But I got the window cover on this card, right? He should have been incapacitated, but I got the window cover. So instead he is stunned, and the unit picks up yet another morale marker. Now the final situation I'm going to demonstrate involves this infantry gun firing at point blank at this window. Now the situation is a little contrived, so I can get it all on the video. You wouldn't normally roll a cannon up this close before you shot at the window, but again, this is for purposes of the demonstration. So this infantry gun has a medium, its blast template is medium, and it's going to fire here at this window. Now note there's a home guardsman here and 4 inside the building. So the first thing we have to do is flip a card to determine if we hit the place we're aiming. Short range with regular accuracy, I need 2 bullet holes, which I got, so we hit that window. Now the next step is to roll for penetration. Now this is very similar to anti-tank fire. We're going to compare the penetration number of this gun, which in this case is 8, against the protection value of this flagstone wall, which is a 4. So 8 is greater than 4. Now normally what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the penetration number, I'm going to add it to a D10 shown on the next card I draw, and compare that against the protection value of the building. Now you say, well, 8 is greater than 4, why do I even have to flip a card? And that's because a penetration roll of 1 is always a fail to pen, right? So I flipped this card, and I actually rolled a 10, so 10 plus 8 is 18. That's greater than 4, so I'm going to penetrate this wall. Now when I do that, you'll notice on these templates there are these dashed lines. So what I do is I line up that dashed line at the point of impact, and I actually put this little grenade template just outside the wall as well, because the idea is that there's some amount of bricks and debris flying as a result of me hitting the wall. So what you can see is, I'll pull this out of the way, you can see that there are 3 home guardsmen inside the building who are within this cone, the dotted lines and the edge of the template here, and then there's 1 who's outside. So let's start with the folks on the inside. We penetrated, so we're just going to start rolling for damage. Now, this is a medium template, but because we're in an enclosed space, you go up one to a large. So as I'm firing at these three figures in turn, I'm looking for the large high explosive icons. So I flip the first card, and I get nothing. So I do no damage to this first guy. He got really lucky. For the second guy, I flip a card. I did get a large high explosive icon. So let's see what kind of damage I did to this guy. I flip a card, and he is incapacitated. So he's knocked out, and we'll put a morale marker on. Let's say that's the leader. Okay. Now I have a third guy. Remember, he was back here. He's still in that cone. So I'm going to flip a card, and I get yet another high explosive icon. So let's see what I did to that guy, and I wounded him. Now, I don't get any cover. He's inside the building, right? So he's white for wounded, and he's also stunned, and the team leader picks up another morale check. So I've done damage for these guys. Now this person, this figure, he's outside that cone, so he's okay. So this figure, for whatever reason, was undamaged. This one was killed. That one was wounded. But there's still this guy on the outside, and we're using the blast template, the small high explosive, as if it was a grenade. And you notice that this guy's base overlaps with that cone. So he has to take an attack. We're looking for the small high explosive icon. We flip a card. I did get a small high explosive icon. So let's see what kind of damage we did to that guy. He is wounded. So we put a white wound marker and a black stun marker on him, and his team leader takes yet another morale check. So that's how you resolve firing at the buildings. Now, if we hadn't penetrated the building, you wouldn't have gone through that procedure for the folks inside.
So, thanks for watching this video in which I demonstrated a number of aspects of resolving high explosive attacks in Combat Patrol. We showed grenades outside, grenades through apertures, and we even showed trying to blow a hole through a wall and damaging the folks inside. I hope if you had any trouble understanding what was written in the rule book that this answered any questions you had. And if you haven't tried Combat Patrol yet, I'm hoping that this and the other how-to videos convince you that this is really a unique, streamlined, and intuitive system for resolving combat. Thanks again.